Hey all, Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from the south, or specifically New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm outside of St. Louis Cemetery number 1. This is the oldest cemetery in all of New Orleans, and New Orleans has some of the most beautiful, amazing, and historic cemeteries in the country. Unfortunately, due to vandalism, they only allow people to go in there as part of tour groups, which I'm about to do. The primary reason behind this vandalism is the grave of Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau was a healer, known as a voodoo queen. I believe she was born in the early 1800s. She is a very iconic figure. You see her image everywhere here in New Orleans. And there was a urban legend that if you wrote 3 X's on her grave and made a wish, that she would grant that wish. So the crypt that she was in was continually being attacked by X's, all these X's on this grave. The cemetery tried different things to fight this desecration, but eventually they ended up closing their doors. And finally, they did allow tour groups to start coming in. If you're with an official tour group, you can come in. So we're going to take a look at St. Louis number 1. Follow me.
Culture, as I mentioned earlier, everyone that has ever been buried in this one of these vaults, got to put stucco that's line base. That allows the brick that is.
Story with this grave is the gentleman believed his grandmother to be buried here, so to protect her from evil spirits, he covered it in haint blue, which simulates water and repels bad spirits.
They decided to close the cemetery off. Back to Marie. No, we moved him as I said why. They moved him to St. Louis number 3.
So here is the grave, Marie Laveau. This is part of the reason they closed off this cemetery, because people were putting these 3 X's and making wishes. I can show you what it used to look like, but you can see, yeah, the X's that are either painted over or people have illegally placed more X's there.
Marie Laveau is buried in here. Notice this. Since the guards have been out there, this has happened. We have rogue guides. Do you see how they're trying to cover the X's? They come in here and allow this kind of stuff. Prior to that, this thing was covered with X's before that guard went out there. And, Marie Laveau was such a good woman that she would nurse the sick. She and the Capuchin monk would go to the hospital and nurse the sick. Carolyn Morrow Long discovered that there were over 80 people buried in this tomb that were not related to Marie Laveau. At any rate, she's buried in here. She died in 1881. When she died, everybody was because she'd done so much good. Lawyers, doctors. Let me explain to you. It's women of color, slaves and 3 women of color, knew herbal medicine. They could cure people. The doctors would bleed you. Now you'd die from the bleeding. So she knew her stuff, she really did. So people came from all over to see her and to honor her for her funeral. They left her gifts and they put a cross on the tomb. Not an X, but a cross with brick dust, which is easily washed off. And of course they'd make a wish, their wish would come true, and then of course they told their friends. First, he's in here. Definitely in here. I want to read this to you. Family of the widow Paris, born Laveau. That's what that says. This is telling you this is Marie Laveau's grave. That's what it's telling you, of the tomb. Here lies Marie Philomene Glapion. That was her daughter. He wins the International Chess Championship of the world. He's known all over the world. There's photographs on all the newspapers. And so he comes back here when he's 21. And we think in that instance, she was asking about the tomb being painted pink. This was a Beau Laveau, where evil things were left in front of here. People would do evil rituals here at night before the guards went outside. It was creepy to come over here. Now, where do those legends come from? Robert Talent was head of the Writers Guild. He wrote a book, and I'll tell you honestly, I tore it up. Because what it says in that book is that Marie Laveau was evil, and she wasn't. There's no way, she was good friends with the monk. There's no way in God's green earth that all of those records in the Archdiocesan archives are in there. She was evil. Okay, I don't believe that for a moment. So guess what? That's what I think. I think people read a lot of those authors, and he was the head of the Writers Guild. A lot of those authors, you know, would interview people. How do they know? This is the 1939, 1945. How in the heck are they going to know what's true and what's not? Her daughter's been dead since 1897, and I know she's not going to spread any lies about her mother. Robert Talon said he said a lot of that in newspaper articles. Well, we had fake news back then too. I had another man who delves in the occult told me that if you put 3 of anything on anyone's tomb, what that means is whatever they did good in this life will follow them into the next. Whatever they did bad in this life will follow them into the next. So, I don't know. All I know is this is the Polo boat. And if you Google it, you see what was in front of it. Let's go to Beverly Hills. Got arrested several times. He looked like hell because he'd get into fights. He bought the Lalaurie Haunted Mansion. He also bought a property on Patania Street. He lost them both to taxes. Nicolas Cage is very strange. He married Lisa Marie Presley while he was here. They say the marriage lasted for 6 weeks. They say he wanted to sleep in Elvis Presley's bed. Once he did that, he said bye and left. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've been told. At any rate, he gets permission to build this tomb, a 9-foot pyramid. You talk about angry people in this cemetery, you haven't seen so many angry people. How dare them put this tomb here, they said. This is not conducive to our culture here. They took 2 in-ground tombs, they exhumed the bodies, and they put them in the Catholic Charities tomb. These were bodies that they had no idea, couldn't find the loved ones or whatever. So they gave him permission, and he built this in 2010. It cost $275,000. He could put 6 caskets in here.
And right here, in the middle of the oldest cemetery in New Orleans, is this massive pyramid, the grave of one Nicolas Cage, who has not managed to die yet.
Nicolas Cage came in here, Big John out there, came in here August of 2016. The guard went out there March of 2015. When they came out, the perpetual care is something they sell whenever they sell a tomb. It's included in the cost. But what that means is the Archdiocese is responsible for the exterior of this tomb. So, what happened when the guards started first coming out here, people were afraid to do anything. So what they did is, the Archdiocese had the men clean the tomb off. Lipstick kisses. Now, who in the name of heaven would put their lips on somebody else's lips
There's
that
one
had
right
their
there.
lips on who knows what in the city of New Orleans? That's what I'd like to know. Are they lunatics or what? And anyway, look at that. You still see the kisses. If you Google Nicolas Cage, you'll see the
Kisses, gross kisses on Nicolas
We
Cage.
don't know. He comes in here in August and he goes to John. Well, John brought him over here and he said, "Where are my kisses?" John says, "They're gone." Well, I know that, but who took them off? John said, "I did." How dare you do that? This is my tomb and it cost $275,000. You had no right to take my kisses off. John said, "Sorry, Charlie, I had every right." Because that's called desecration of a tomb. And he put him on, he had the Archdiocese on speed dial and he handed it to him. And of course, Nicolas Cage then understood that he could take and build a tomb in a public cemetery uptown. He can't do that here and sell this one. But of course, you know, he didn't want to do that. He didn't have the knowledge that and they brought that knowledge to him. But if you YouTube Easy Rider, you're going to see Dennis Hopper, or Peter Fonda sitting on the lap of the statue on the other side. I'm going to bring you over there. That's the front of the tomb. Her name is Mother Italy or Italia. He's sitting on her lap and he's crying and he's whispering in her ear and he's psychedelic lights. You know what Dennis Hopper was telling him? Visualize you're talking to your dead mother. You do know his mother committed suicide when he was 7 or 8 years old. It's just sad.
There is the Easy Rider statue.
They then come into the cemetery and they have an orgy in front of this tomb. When the people who had family members buried in this tomb saw that little situation, they contacted the Archdiocese and they were furious. Now, no movies are ever filmed in any of our Catholic cemeteries. On this side of Canal Street, I would say 85 set up called Passage. I mentioned it to you earlier. They're also called slave quarters, but they're called one other thing, a garçonniere. You know what a garçonniere is?
Yes, how these tombs work is there's a whole family inside there. They put the body right there. It has to be sealed for 1 year, 1 day, and then it kind of bakes in the Louisiana sun Then when they open it, they push the skeleton to the back where it falls down into this passage. This is just contains bones. There's just like a pile of bones of an entire family down there. Now this wall here is actually tombs, but they're not permanent tombs. These are temporary tombs for if there's someone in a normal tomb, they have to be there legally locked up for 1 day and 1 year. So if more than one family member dies in the same year, they have to store them here until the crypt is ready for them.
Well, I'm going to give you an island off the coast of Italy.
Here's an interesting piece of history. This tomb right here was designed by Benjamin Latrobe, who also designed the United States Capitol building. Now I know there's some disagreements on which tomb Marie Laveau was actually buried in. I noticed this one right here still is absolutely covered in X's. I guess they've not had a chance to restore this yet. Look at all those X's. There's a jazz musician's tomb. You can see the blue music note up there at the top. All right, so that was St. Louis Cemetery number 1. I went and took the free tours by foot here in New Orleans. It's actually only costs $2. Of course, they ask you do pay what you feel the tour was worth. So don't just pay the $2. Give your guide something that they deserve. My guide this time was Kathy. She did an excellent job, so I would definitely recommend going on one of Kathy's tours. Very, very thorough, very educated, and she definitely knew what she was talking about. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you'd like to see other cemeteries, as well as roadside attractions, amusement parks, museums, and other fun stuff, please check the link down in the description. If you'd like to contribute to the channel, consider donating to Patreon, consider buying a t-shirt. But for now, this one's in the bag.